for the introduction. Very good afternoon to all my friends, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and my business associates all across the world. Good evening to my Australian friends and good morning to ones in the US, Canada, and the Western world. We are all here to discuss the lentil scenario between Australia and India. Australia has always been a very, very dependable partner for us Indians, and in the past, as Saurabh said in the beginning, we have had huge imports of desi chickpeas as well as lentils coming in from Australia. As late as 2017, as Saurabh said, we have gotten big quantities, but now due to some duty changes, the desi chickpeas volumes have gone down, though we still keep continuing importing lentils from Australia. First of all, on this auspicious day of Eid, I would like to wish all my Muslim friends across the world Eid Mubarak. And in these difficult times of the global pandemic, which I'm sure has touched every one of us in some way or the other, we all pray to God that He just gets all of us out of this pandemic, and that we go back to our older days of laughter, joy, merriment, and celebrations. This afternoon's webinar with regard to the Indian scenario of lentils, I will take you across the facts and figures which are in front of us. Let us begin with the Indian aspect, that is the crop size. The crop size, as per the Indian government figures last year, that is for the year 2019-20, was about 1.23 million tons, which later the government revised as per the fourth advance estimates to approximately 1.1 million tons. But at that time also the trade estimates were considerably lower, and people in the trade were estimating the crop to be approximately 900,000 to 1 million tons. Coming to this year, the government estimates regarding the Indian crop size of lentils has been 1.35 million tons. But again, as per trade estimates, it should not be more than 900,000 to max 1 million tons. The crop size has been lower this year, and the prices which are ruling currently are a witness to it, and we are sure that the figures put forward by the government are not exactly what it should be, and we are definitely in with a lower number this year. So the total consumption of lentils in our country is approximately 1.8 to 2 million tons a year, which translates to roughly 150 to 170,000 tons every month. So we are definitely dependent on imports of lentils. And Canada, of course, is our biggest supplier, followed by Australia. These are the two major origins from which we have been importing lentils. And if we look at the figures, last year from February 2020 until January of 2021, India imported almost 1.05 million tons of lentils collectively from Australia as well as Canada, though Canada was the principal supplier. And the two major sources, as I said, for us is Canada, and which is followed by Australia. The Canadian figures, if we go into them, last year their crop size was almost, for reds, it was approximately 2 million tons. And this year the crop size estimated is going forward is 1.8 million tons. The weather across the US and the Canadian prairies is quite dry this year, so they are looking at a lower crop number. And the availability, of course, for exports from Canada will be lesser compared to last year, due to, as I said, the dry weather. Secondly, there are some more destinations which are more active this year, and they are looking at more quantities. Just to give an example, Turkey, which typically produces about 400 to 450,000 tons every year. This year, the crop size which they are looking at is almost around 200,000 tons. So there is an additional demand of approximately 250,000 tons, which will be coming forward from Turkey. And there is, of course, additional demand from other destinations, because they are also anticipating that Indian duties might come down and the markets might ramp up. So the other destinations, namely Bangladesh, Pakistan, all of UAE and Colombo, they are also fairly active, and they are buying constantly, both from Canada as well as Australia. If we go into the Australian numbers, the lentil figures for Australia last year were typically around 700,000, of which a very, very major chunk has already been exported and not much is left in Australia. And typically in Australia, the seeding is going on right now for red lentils, but then the major red lentil areas, that is southern part of Australia, it is still very dry out there. So the numbers are still not very clear as to what estimated crop size we are looking at going forward. So the supply definitely from Australia also is anticipated to be lower compared to last year. Now, coming back to the Indian scenario, we need to see where exactly we stand in terms of stocks, in terms of prices, and in terms of projected prices going forward. If we look at the inventories all across India, we are today sitting with almost about 350,000 tons approximately of red lentils. This includes, of course, imported red lentils, which are around 200,000 tons, which are sitting at all major ports like Mundra, Kandla, Hazira, Mumbai, Kakinada, and Calcutta. And we have approximately 150,000 or max say 200,000 tons of Indian Desi red lentils. So right now we have an inventory, as I said, of about 350 or max 400,000 tons, which should be 2.5 months consumption. So we are right now in the middle of May. So typically until the end of July, we have stocks which we can use going forward. But then we need to import more. And right now, if we look at the pricing, since the very beginning that we harvested the Indian crop, the Indian prices have always been at a disparity compared to the origin prices. Like in the beginning, when Canada was offering at around $590 to $600 basis CFR Indian ports, it was translating to almost around 60 to 61,000 basis 33% duties. But at that time, the Indian markets were around 50 to 51,000 near the MSP levels. And then later on, as we started progressing, the markets in Canada started going up. Looking at the Indian crop numbers, the markets in Canada also started going up. There was buying interest of India, but because of the duty impediment, there was not much buying going forward, and we were dependent on the local, the Desi or the local red lentils. The Indian farmers were getting prices which are around MSP or above MSP, so obviously their choice was to sell in the open market. So the Indian government agency, which is NAFED, they really could not buy much stocks from the farmers, and the farmers were much happy selling in the open markets to traders. Current offers from Canada are around US dollar 800 plus, and even offers from Australia around the levels of 800 plus, which at current duties are almost equating to 80 to 81,000 rupees per ton, whereas the local market prices are in India at the ports are around 63 to 64,000 rupees. And even if the duties come down, as last year the Indian government reduced the duties from 33 to 11%, and if we are to equate the costings basis $800 and taking into account import duties of 11%, the cost would come to almost about 68,000 rupees. So there is still a wide gap between the landed prices considering the duty reduction and the ruling prices in India. So Australian prices also, as I said, are around $800 plus, be it nippers or nuggets. And though honestly, there's not much buying interest at these levels, because of course, India, it's totally unviable until we have some clarity on the duties. Some destinations may be buying, but lately the price spurt also has been very recent. So we still need to see if at these prices, there's really big buying going forward. And now we need to see the reasons why there's been a price spurt in both Canada and Australia. Of course, the major reason has been that people are anticipating the Indian duties to come down. Secondly, the freight rates also have played a major spoil sport. The container availability as well as the container freights have been very difficult. The container freights, which were typically around $60 earlier from Canada, are now being charged at almost $90. The break bulk freights from West Coast Canada, that is from Vancouver to West Coast India, for a vessel size of 50,000 tons, which was typically around $30, say a month ago, are now being asked for around $70. So there has been a huge freight increase. And on top of the freight increase also, the problem with regard to container shipment is the availability of equipment with the shipping lines. So all these factors compounded, and this has caused the prices to rise. Now, with regard to the Indian context, with regard to the consumption and the demand going forward, the factors which could affect us predominantly would be, the major factor would be the COVID situation in India, which is really very bad. All of you are aware of the situation that we all are going through. And most of the states have gone into some sort of a lockdown, either a complete lockdown or a partial lockdown. And of course, all the restaurants, pubs, malls, shopping centers, entertainment centers, they are all shut. All the major gatherings are being avoided, and even functions, marriages, and parties are on hold. So there would be some dip in consumption going forward. There's my feeling. The HoReCa segment is really not performing. So there will be some challenges. But then again, to sum up, I think that the current S&D situation is tight. The government needs to come forward and make some changes with regard to the duty structure so as to get in more cargo, because going forward, I believe from the month of July until December, we need to import at least 500,000 tons collectively from Canada and Australia, from both these origins. And as I explained to you, the pricing going forward at current prices, I don't see the markets in the origins going down much, but they'll have to correct a bit to be in tandem with the Indian prices. There's still a difference of almost $60, $70, and this gap needs to be bridged by either the origins coming down and maybe the Indian markets coming up a bit. So I think the next few months are going to be very challenging, very interesting, and very adventurous, I feel. And I'm looking forward to opinions and the ideas from my Australian friend, Nick. And let's see how the audience also reacts and what their questions are. So waiting for them. Thank you so much.